10th, 2007. We're going to talk about what's going on at the New World Airport. With Bill Zabel, he's with me on the other end of the line. But before we get to Bill, a couple of things. One, with regard to yesterday's show with Dave from 911blimp.net, I completely blew that. Doing a pre-record with him. And very unprofessional. My fault. He's graciously acceded to come on. Tuesday we'll knock out the Grassy Knoll. We'll postpone that, and we'll get to Dave. He's got some stuff that you need to hear, and like I said, that was my fault. Also, some of you have asked questions about the hawk whose photo is on my Live 365 page. Just to let you know, that is a magnificent female red-shouldered hawk that perches on a limb just outside the window of my wife's office. It's in northeast Tampa. It's adjacent to a number of parks that chain up to the county line into where we live in Pasco County. And it's an extraordinarily large female, and maybe I'll put a close-up of it later on when you can take a look. It's just what a creature. Okay, so that's the deal on the hawk. That is not my Vyzygoth. Now, getting to our guest, Bill Zabel, from the great state of Colorado, which gets stranger by the minute. Thanks for coming back to the Grassy Knoll, Bill.
Thank you for having me on.
All right, well, I appreciate you coming on. I want to set up also that much of what we'll talk about is embodied in a DVD. The information was collated by Bill Bixler. I guess the presentation was that also of Bill Bixler. He gave it to Bill. It's Bob Bixler, isn't it?
Bob, yes.
Yeah, okay. Too many B's, too little time. Bob Bixler gave it to Bill. Bill has made a DVD of it. We're going to refer to a 22-minute clip later in the show. We're going to deal with half of it, 11 minutes, where a construction worker talks about what went on at the DIA or the NWA, depending on what you want to call it, in the construction phase. And also, Bill, you were someone who... by virtue of living in Colorado and close to where the airport is, has watched all that's gone on prior to, during, and after the construction of the New World Airport.
Yes. Yeah, I was pretty intimately involved because, like everyone else, I didn't think we needed the airport, and I didn't want to spend the money.
Well, was there anything wrong with Stapleton? Was it being outgrown, or...?
There was a lot of rumors and political essays, but, I read the FAA reports and even the City of Denver engineers report. The only thing they said was that if they wanted to expand Stapleton to handle additional airline carriers or flights, they would have to do so by expanding out onto the arsenal, and they didn't like the idea at the time because there was still chemical contamination out there, and they would have to have a massive cleanup and EPA study done. The fact is that's been done already, and now there's shopping malls out there on the arsenal. So their excuses were pretty flimsy anyways. As far as the thing like the cost-benefit, Stapleton was really handling everything fine from a financial point of view. I mean, the airport was paid off. The expansive work that they had done in 1982 was almost paid for. They'd almost paid off all that work. And the FAA, City of Denver, and the Airline Pilots Association had admitted publicly when they started the rumors about building DIA that the flights coming into Denver were actually going down, and they've been steadily going down since that time.
Well, when they want to do something, there's always the reason and the real reason.
Yeah.
And it seems like it's another case of that as far as... Now, did they have to... did they raise bonds amongst the people to finance that?
Yes. In fact, the majority of the expenses for the airport were handled through bonds. The federal government only gave them $665 million in what's called through the Airport Improvement Program, or AIP, which has been in effect since the early 60s. They had to generate the rest through revenues, and that is where they got themselves into trouble. They weren't quite honest with the public about the rating of the bonds, the rating of the whole project. Basically, Lay and Fisher's Associates, the company that issued the bonds and audited the city of Denver, really, they recommended that the city of Denver put these bonds into Stapleton and not try to build a new airport. They saw it as too risky of a venture.
Also, I've said this a couple of times, and I'll state it once more for the context of the show. That pilot Pete, my friend who flies for a major airline, went into DIA, and a couple things happened. One of them is I said, would you take a look at the murals and tell me what you think? He did. He thought it was kind of weird. But he also said to me, he goes, you know what, I can't understand. They build more runways out there, and that place is so little used, which means that Stapleton was adequate also, and as I had said to him at that time and have recitated since then, and that is it's not for now, it's for what's to come.
Yeah.
So he must, he does admit that it's kind of strange the place would expand when it's, when you can't rub two planes together out there.
Yeah. Well, what they did was the airport is actually smaller than the original design. The original design actually called for 6 concourses. They only have 3. And they originally started out with 125 gates, and by the time the airport was done, they downgraded to 94. Now, they do have 6 runways out there, but they can only use 5. And people always ask me, well, what's the 6th one for? And I said, I don't know. They covered it up with dirt. And if you go to Google and do a downward-looking photograph on DIA, you can see this runway under the dirt. You can see the outline of it. And they've admitted it. I've got the news articles from the mid-'90s where they admitted, well, gee, we built this new 10,000-foot-long runway, and those dummies just poured the concrete in the wrong place. So we're just going to bury it up with dirt. That's not even an internet conspiracy theory. They admitted that publicly that they did it.
Also, I believe that the construction worker, whom we'll hear later, and this goes back to when Stu Webb, before he lost his mind or whatever happened to him, said that there were 2 they covered up. Is that correct?
Well, the second one I can't see, so they might have covered it up better. There was always those rumors there was 2 of them, but they only admitted to 1. And I've been looking at the aerial maps that the city of Denver took at DIA, and I can only see the 1. So there could be a second one out there. If there is, they did a better job of covering it up than the 1.
When was construction begun? What year?
1989 in September.
And roughly how long did it take before it became functional?
1995, I believe it was October of 1995, because I remember they had a big brouhaha. It was kind of like a big party. Oh, here it is. Yeah, it was in February 28th. Yep. Originally the airport was supposed to have been done in February of 1993, and because of cost overruns and construction delays, there was tons of that stuff going on. I mean, it was just incredible. If you go out there in the street and you talk to anybody that's a civil engineer or aeronautical engineer and just bring up DIA and say, well, what do you think about the construction of that place? There's an old Marine term that they have for it. Basically, it's a cluster, you know what.
Mm-hmm.
That's what engineers will tell you. The way they put that airport in, you just don't run a construction project that way. It was a mishmash of prime contractors, subcontractors, people being pulled off projects, a third of the way through the completion, contractors being told, okay, your section's done. When prime contractors usually follow a project all the way through completion, they might subcontract out small parts of it, but they have prime contractors out there that would build, say, 300-400 feet of the runway, and then they'd say, okay, that's it, you're out of here, thanks, here's your check. And it was just bizarre. I mean, whether you wanted the airport or not, engineers, everyone was just shaking their heads going, why are you doing this way? It just didn't make any sense.
Now, you have 2 dailies, I think, that serve you, the Denver Post and the Rocky Mountain Times?
News, yeah.
Rocky Mountain News?
Yeah, we call it the Denver Compost and the Rocky Mountain Snoozes.
Well, then that probably will answer my next question with a negative, and that is, did either of those papers do any kind of oversight exposés, any kind of analysis of what was going on with the airport?
Yeah, I was surprised they actually did, but they didn't deal with the issues that I would have liked to have seen done. They dealt mostly with just the bond issue. They didn't really deal with where a lot of the money came from, because I found out through the bond holding company, and I pulled the documents from that, total, they only raised $3.04 billion in bonds. But yet, according to an audit by the FAA and the General Accounting Office, they spent close to $5.8 billion. Where did the rest of the money come from?
God.
Through all the bonds.
It came from God.
Yeah. Well, the media here in Denver, they dealt with just the bond issue. They dealt, with the scandal about our former mayor, Federico Pena, starting the whole DIA thing in the mid-'80s. By the way, Federico Pena's wife, her family is invested in quite a few different companies, including Hensel and Phelps and others. And it was her family's companies that they're invested in that got many of the prime contracts, which probably should have been a conflict of interest, because he publicly admitted that, she basically went to bat with the county commissioners and the city improvement office that Denver has for construction improvement projects, that she basically went to bat for her family's companies to get the contracts. And that should have been a no-no with her being married to the mayor. But people kind of gloss that over after a while. But I always got the sinking feeling that all of this crap about, Federico Pena and how he got the airport started and his wife being involved in the contracts, that was just smoke and mirrors. They definitely were hiding something else. They were hiding, I think, where a lot of the money came from. I think they were hiding what they were actually building out there as well. I mean, I'd never seen a civil contract except for a classified military facility go in under such secrecy and demanding that people keep their mouth shut. And you can talk to airline pilots and they'll tell you, you can badmouth an airport anywhere in the country and people say, yeah, that's right, this is a really bad airport. But DIA pilots will tell you they got to speak off the record. They don't dare publicly say anything about DIA. I call it the first politically correct airport in the country.
Howard, you just jogging my memory. Does any airline call that its home hub?
United Airlines.
Okay. I'm starting to think back that some woman was popping off about the place. Oh, geez, I remember something about that. Okay. And, she started running her mouth, and I guess she got whisked away. That doesn't sound familiar to you, does it?
There's actually quite a number of people that either lost their job or were told they needed to move on after their public comments about DIA.
Well,
there was a talk show host here in Denver. He was not real big on AM radio. I can't remember his name now. He was just a small-timer, and he was ripping the more esoteric aspects of DIA, the possible underground construction, just the strangeness of the way the airport went in. And basically, he found himself packing his bag and leaving Denver. Now, there were bigger talk show hosts that were taking on DIA, like, Peter Boyle of KHOW.
Mm-hmm.
He took on DIA, but once again, he just dealt with the financial issues and things like that. He didn't get into the underground construction. Where that came into being and what brought the media's attention to that was it, I don't know if you've ever heard the name Phil Schneider.
Mm-hmm.
Well, before he died, he actually came to Denver and told people, said, listen, you guys have no idea what, we did out there. He says, this is not just an airport just to make the city of Denver look good with the rest of the country. And he went into the whole spiel about the underground construction. And believe it or not, the media took him serious. And, of course, they would, because the guy actually does have, he's dead now, but he did have professional credentials for that type of construction. He supervised that kind of work around the world.
Some of the information with Schneider and what goes on can get wild, and we're not going to deal with that right now.
Right, I understand the weirder side of his allegations, yeah.
But again, you got to wonder because of the way he met his demise, could he? It's usually indicative of he said something he shouldn't have. That's obviously accurate. Real quick about the land issues, though. You said that there was some kind of turning over of the property on which the airport would be built. It changed a couple of hands, like.
Yeah, believe it or not, the one group that was involved, and you've probably heard on this on TV and read books about it, but their name was never connected to DIA. MDC Holdings had actually paid a company to go in and buy the land in Denver, outside of Denver, for the airport. Now, this holding company that MDC Holdings hired actually went to Adams County and bartered to get the land, because at the time it was just farmland, and you have to go through all kinds of conversion processes. That land has to be annexed, all kinds of political stuff. By the time this front company for MDC Holdings got done and they had transferred the land to other people, once researchers got done with it, they found out that these guys had changed the land 300 times. It had gone through that many different holding and real estate companies.
300 times?
Yeah.
Over what time span?
About the span of 3.5 years, 4 years. Because they actually started buying that land a lot earlier than they said. This project was in the works as far back as 1985. There's no way that suddenly in 1988 they decide to build the airport and start breaking ground in 89. Sorry. No, they were doing this clear back in the mid-80s, because my uncle and his dad owned a lot of that land, and they were selling this land off as early as 84. And, at that time, farming in Colorado was going downhill. A lot of farmers were just giving up. And, my relatives sold a lot of land out there to these guys. They didn't care. They just wanted to get rid of it. They were all getting out of farming anyways. But, by the time they got done with land holdings, it changed hands 300 times. And people were just flabbergasted. Why would you turn land over that much before you start building on it?
All right, so it's pretty clear that there was foreknowledge, and that the people who bought that probably were the ones who were to sit on it and make sure that it didn't go out of the chain until the time when they were ready to break ground.
Yeah.
All right, there are two other things. One, what do you know about the widely, renowned baggage snafu?
Oh, that was a big thing of mine. I watched that for years. BAE Systems is actually a British defense contractor. You have to do a little digging to find that out. When they first came about with the plans to build DIA, their idea was to have an automated baggage system run by computers that would read the tag on your luggage and decide which concourse it needed to go to. Well, they kind of had a small problem. These little carts that they had set on a pivot, and when they were going around turns, they liked to dump the bags off the carts into basically the mechanical works underneath. Well, I've got pictures of the baggage system. This is the biggest snafu they ever built. They have a bar that looks like a machete almost, welded to the bottom of these carts, and when the bags would fall out, these little bars would cut bags in half. That's the problem that they had when they first installed the experimental system back during the major concourse construction. BAE actually had a baggage system installed and running, and they never could get this thing to run right. It would dump bags out, and it just all kinds of snafus. The system would just quit for no reason at all. It would lose power. They never could figure out why it was losing power all the time. Everything out there was a mess, but the baggage system, I think, got the brunt of the media attention, when the fact is they should have been paying attention to the actual construction itself. Interesting enough, I found out from BAE's website that they actually installed that same baggage system at Heathrow Airport in 1988 and had no problems at all. The very same thing.
It's only in the United States where things don't work right.
Yeah, or at DIA.
But I guess the thing that's most provocative is the cavernous underground that I guess people early on guessed might be underground parking. They just couldn't understand it for what it finally became. Mm-hmm. What is the deal with the underground? what do we know, if anybody knows, what it has become?
Well, I do know from the pictures that I've seen that Bob Bixler's shown me and others. I don't have any pictures of this myself. I should ask these people to give me copies for my website. The tunnel area, they have a tramway. It's a train that will take you from the parking garages to all the concourses and out to the terminals. These are trains that are all about 50 to 100 feet underground. Now, the tunnel where the trains sit are actually a lot wider than they need to be, even if you account for a service tunnel, to drive a vehicle and to fix the trains. People, lots of people, more than I can even remember, have told me coming in on those trains, because when you get off the airplane, you have to get on the train to go to the main concourse area to get, a rent-a-car or to go out to your car at the parking garage. They've all noticed the same strange things down there. If you look off to the side while the train is passing through the underground area, there are tunnels that go off on either side of the train and just disappear in the distance. And of course, they always think, well, those are service tunnels, they must handle sewage and electrical and all that. But professional people, men and women who actually design this type of equipment, have said that those tunnels are too big. It doesn't make any sense that you would dig a hole in the ground off of main tunnels that large. Service tunnels, yes, for engineers and technicians to walk through, but these tunnels, many, many people, more than I can count, like I said, have said you could drive a truck through these side tunnels.
Well, that's what I want to ask you, too. These tunnels do not have monorail or conventional rail beds, right? They're just flat?
No, they're just tunnels. They're flat, and they're concrete floor tunnels.
And they're not illuminated as well. They may be affixed with lights, but they're not illuminated, right?
Well, they do. Some of them are dark, and they can only see a little ways down them, and others are illuminated. There's one that is illuminated for, probably 100 yards or so. And people are just like, what do you use something like this for? This is a waste of space and money. And I agree if there's no use for them.
I wonder if they have above the opening, "Abandon hope, all ye who enter through these tunnels." Did they say how many there are? Are there like 20 of them? Are there 12?
Well, the one lady that I talked to that came into Denver said that she counted a tunnel about every 50 feet, and she said the train was going so fast she had to just look, down them real quick. But she said there, from the terminal at the United Terminal all the way into Concourse A, which is where she got off at, was Concourse A. She said that there had to be 24 or more tunnels.
Now, Bob Bixler, who provided the information from which you made a DVD, and I'm just thinking about it. We ought to talk, Bill, about maybe it's possible to put up the construction workers' mini lecture on YouTube.
Yeah.
And that might be a good idea, because when we go into this, people are going to be at a little disadvantage not having seen the graphic, which he apparently drew on a whiteboard or something like that, if I remember correctly, as he goes through his presentation. And again, it's about 22 minutes. I believe it's the last 22 minutes of the DVD that you did make. And of the first 11 minutes, we will not only hear but talk about, because it's interesting what his viewpoints were. And I tell you, one more thing, and then we will go to the audio. But are there underground levels that nobody has ever seen, that are not open to the public, that they are known to be there?
Well, I can prove. If you'd asked me this question 6 years ago, I would have said I can't prove it, but I've heard the rumors. But in 2002, FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, was interviewed, the local director was interviewed by Channel 9 News and said that the entire FEMA operation at the Denver Federal Lakewood Center was moving to their new underground facility at DIA. Admitted it publicly.
In what state is Lakewood?
Lakewood is in Jefferson County.
All right,
it is on the west side of Denver.
Okay. All right. Well, look. Before we go any further, too, why don't you tell the folks what your website is? You also, I think, have linked. I have the murals up on my site. Do you have the murals active on your site?
I have the first 6 active on the first page.
Okay, I've got 9, and they came also from Bill. Why don't you give, like I said, people the website. Also, we want to let you know, and we do thank Bob Bixler for making the information available.
Yes.
Now, Bob actually got down here, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And folks understand something. This was never meant to be a commercial product. So, I mean, we're not apologizing for Bob, but he just meant to get some footage down and to discuss certain things. But also, if you would like to take a look at this, what we've done in the past is we just ask you to compensate Bill for the expenses. And you've been real good about doing that with a little over the top, I mean, which is not bad because it's his time, too. So lay on us, Bill, what the website is, where they can find the links to the murals, the Jefferson maps, and any other information that you want to impart right now.
Okay. The website is www.phantomchasers.net/dia.html.
Okay, you can also hit this site off my site, and again, like I said, both places you'll find the murals. We're going to discuss that in totality tomorrow. We're just going to deal with some of the other, I guess, more from a construction standpoint and the physical plant of what is going on out there. This is the Grassy Knoll. It's 27 minutes after the hour. We are now going to go to an 11-minute audio. The construction worker is the individual who's speaking about what he saw, and he diagrams it. Sorry that you're at a disadvantage right now to try to conceptualize it. Perhaps we can do as we just talked about, maybe get it up on YouTube. Also, before we go there real quick, Bill, the guy that seems to be he's questioning him. Do you know whether that person was taking the role of a devil's advocate or as an interviewer or a facilitator, or was he trying to be convinced of what was going on out there? Do you know?
When I talked to the cameraman who recorded this guy in Denver who was a carpet cleaner, he recorded all this stuff for Bob because Bob's done other things. This particular guy was asked to come in and oversee it because he's like a paranormal UFO researcher, and Bob really didn't want to ask the questions himself. He just wanted to stand in the background and just analyze what was going on. Bob was actually at this thing.
Uh-huh.
And just see, what this guy had to say. So this guy was just kind of brought in at the last minute and said, ask this guy about what he did out there and what's going on. So it didn't seem to me like, that he was doing a professional interview. I think they were just trying to feel this construction worker out by bringing in this researcher.
Where was the venue that this took place?
They did this at a restaurant. They have a place that they used to, it's a Wild Oats now. It used to be just like a regular Denny's restaurant, and they were in the back, doing this.
All right, and some of those Denny's have kind of quasi-meeting rooms, I guess, and that's where they were doing this.
Yeah, real informal. They weren't trying to do anything professional at all. Also,
I want to let folks know, not to be titillating, but you sent me a strip photo about 6 inches wide, only 3 inches in height. And this was your photo you took?
Are you talking about the air ducts?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I took that photo myself.
All right. Folks, I don't know how well it would stand up to any kind of magnification, but there are just two gigantic structures that are the air changers?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, when you take a look at this, and you took it from the margin road outside the airport?
Yeah, they have a road that goes by the front of it. When I took the photo, I couldn't get any closer because they had a security guy walking around, and they had no trespassing signs. Otherwise, I would have gotten closer and got a better photo.
Now, the two of them are on to photo left and photo right. What's in the middle? Can we assume that's the construction of Denver Airport?
No, that is actually north of the airport. That's about 2 miles north.
And what in the world is that then?
Well, nobody seems to know. Whoever built the place tried to claim that it was a United Power experimental generating station for electricity, and when I took a United Power engineer out there, he took one look at the facility and got on his cell phone to the Public Utilities Commission and said, hey, there's a facility here with our name on it. It's not ours. Who is this place? And about 2 weeks after he filed a complaint with the city of Denver, all of a sudden they changed the name to Excel. I also took somebody from the city of Brighton out there, and they looked at it too, and they said, listen, this has nothing to do with us, because the original sign said United Power Experimental Generating Station, City of Brighton District. And I mean, both the City of Brighton and United Power absolutely said this has nothing to do with us. Who is this? Who put this up?
So as I'm looking at this, with the air handlers to the extreme left and right of the photo, those structures, one looks like kind of like a high-rise, and then it seems like an accordion type of structure that goes beyond it. What's the proximity to the air handlers? Are you saying that's north of the air handlers?
Well, they're kind of in a semicircle shape. It's hard to tell from that photo. But you have one air exchanger looking south, you have one looking north, and then there's one looking east. And they're kind of in a semicircle. It's not like a perfect U shape. If you look at them, they're all a little bit offset to make up like a circle. And behind them is a building. It's hard to even say it's a building. There's no doors or windows. It's just a huge welded metal structure. And all of this stuff goes straight down into the ground. There's no, foundation or place you can walk in or anything. These things go straight down into the ground.
The air handlers that deal with the Lincoln tunnels are large. You can make them out. They're antiquated. I mean, they just look old, and there's quite a few stories high, and you can pick them out. However, those Lincoln Tunnel air handlers, compared to these babies, look like they're probably a third the size.
Yeah.
And so, by what we see above the surface, can we only imagine what it might service below the surface? Okay, well, I'll tell you what. Let's go to the construction worker talking about his experience at Denver Airport, New World Airport, and then we'll come back and talk to what we've heard. Any of you want to send an instant message, it's MSN Messenger, Vyzygoth. Also, if you want to send an email, it's vyzygoth@hotmail.com. If something comes up while this is being aired, by all means, send something through, and we'll deal with it when we come back. This is a construction worker who was at the site and saw things that he considered somewhat strange. We're going to change the audio source, and we'll be back talking with you in about 12 minutes.
A diagram of the Denver International Airport. It's just a rough drawing that I drew when I was working out there. What you have here is the east gate entrance into the terminal area of the new DIA. And then the runways, the main runways, of course, in here. And then approximately 2.5 to 3 miles away from the large Teflon dome terminal, the other terminal, are a set of tunnels, underground tunnels, approximately 16 feet by 12 feet. They're square tunnels. They were supposedly to be used for sewer and water. But the tunnels are square, and there's no water stop or anything like that that would be used in a tunnel to carry water. These tunnels were broken down into sections.
How many?
Approximately 5 to 6 sections per tunnel, coming from the main terminals to this set of 5 buildings that are constructed underground.
Okay. Let me ask you something here. We're talking about tunnels, 2 tunnels. The length is about 2.5 to 3 miles. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
How deep into the ground are these tunnels, would you say?
I would say approximately 25 to 30 feet down.
And, okay, once you are in the tunnel, how wide, how high, how much space do you have in there? How big are they?
The tunnels themselves are 12 foot tall by 16 feet wide, and they're just a rectangular formed tunnel. And they're all the same size.
Okay, what usage would people give to these tunnels, especially at an airport?
We used to use them to walk through, and we used to put forklifts and other machinery down there to transport tools and such thing, materials.
Can you feed the truck in there?
Oh yeah, you could fit a bus in there if you wanted to. You could fit a small special-made bus. We made jokes while we were building these things out here. The set of buildings that I worked on, in which the tunnel's tied to, about how they could go from tunnel to tunnel with little bus loads of people. all the way around the whole area.
Okay, well, now tell us about those 5 buildings you have there outlined.
The 5 buildings we have all have intersecting tunnels that go between them and then tie into the main terminal areas.
Okay. What's the purpose for these buildings, in your opinion, or why did these people, decided to build something underground? And how deep are they, first of all?
They range anywhere from 60 feet deep to 120 feet deep, these 5 buildings do.
Is this some kind of a storage facility, or? We
were told it was for sewer and for water waste out in the east area, these buildings, but they weren't constructed in that order, in that manner to carry to carry water. They have, and whenever you construct concrete buildings underground to hold water, you use water stop and Teflon coated rebar and a lot of other type materials. Instead we had no water stop, no Teflon type.
Let's hold on a second.
Hello.
Okay, let's continue here. You were saying that they told you these were for water?
For water and for sewer and sanitary waste and treatment out in here is what they said these buildings were all for. And they said that the tunnels that were coming over from the main terminals were going to be carrying the water and the sewer waste from the terminals out to these small buildings.
Okay. Now, this is a very important question here. I don't know if you want to tell us what construction company was in charge of this project, of the building of the tunnels, or the work being done in the tunnels and in these buildings underground.
These tunnels were split up between different companies. Not one company got more than one section of this tunnel.
Why do you think that is?
My reason is because they would start to get an overall picture of what they were really constructing across here. On most jobs this size, once a company is set up and sets up one section of tunnel, then they're already in progress of going all the way across. So it's easier for them to go ahead and continue with the contract all the way through than to bring in another company on each section. And it's very, very peculiar that they would be split up in that many sections with that many different type of companies doing the work.
So this was, in your opinion, doing on purpose, so the companies of the people working there would not know what was going on.
Nobody would know what was going on through here. Nobody would be able to get an overall picture of what was happening. The company that did all of these buildings out here didn't get any of these tunnel contracts.
Okay. Another question, besides what you told us already, what do you make out of all of these?
This looks to me like, in my opinion, it could be used for transporting people from the airports, terminals, out to these small buildings. And distributing people from these small buildings.
With what purpose, though?
For the New World Order.
What do you mean?
For disruptors.
What do you mean?
People that do not want to succumb to the wishes of the New World Order. For people who rebel against the government. For people who have been called up on sedition and conspiracy charges. For being in militias and such. People who have been labeled as freedom fighters and patriots. Where they could take and they could split them up with their families or without their families into different sections, into different buildings for holding, temporary holding. They could maneuver them through another process of tunnels to these 2 hidden runways, which are east of these buildings.
Let me see.
Half a mile.
Let me see if I understand what you're saying. Do you think that this construction underground was built to hold people there?
Yes, I believe it was built to hold people here and to also do your sorting. Sorting of people, determined by how radical they are. The more radical would get one building, the less radical would it be in another.
Could we call this some kind of prison?
I would call it an underground concentration camp and distribution center for radicals, is what I would call it. And it's really highly peculiar. All this was done 3 to 3.5 years ago, was finished and buried.
How long ago was this done, you said?
3 to 3.5 years ago, these buildings and these runways were done.
So this project began way before DIA began.
This started up at the very, very beginning of DIA. And this was all completed at the very beginning of DIA.
Okay, what about those tunnels or roads or whatever you have to the left of the 5 buildings?
The tunnels?
To the left.
Oh, to the left. Those are runways. These are runways out here. These are long runways. These runways here.
So those are on the surface, right?
Yeah, no, they're on the surface, but
the runways, yeah.
They've been backfilled.
What do you mean?
They have dirt, a 4-inch dirt cap over the top of all of these 2 long runways. When we were working on these buildings, we saw them covering up these runways out here, and we asked questions what was going on with these runways. They said they poured them in the wrong place.
Huh.
But how can you miss runways by 2 miles? In my opinion, I think the large amounts of people would be coming in on these runways.
Right, they come to the
World
airport.
Order takes control. Once the money system fails, which you're starting to see around the world everywhere, the last place to fall will be the United States. That's the last place that they'll have to take people. They have too many radicals here with guns, patriots, freedom fighters, and such. They will bring them into the center point, which is the center point of the United States, can go to Europe, can go to the Middle East.
Okay.
This point here, they can bring them in, shuttle them over to the distribution center, shuttle them over to the other 2 runways, and send them off to whatever concentration camp for permanent keeping. Such as Alaska, Montana.
Do you think that there is more construction underground at the new Denver International Airport?
There's an area to the south of this, which is also approximately 2.5 to 3 miles away from the main runway and DIA Teflon Dome terminal, where there was a lot of activity going on. They were always driving up so much dust and dirt out here, we couldn't see exactly what each other was doing at much time. We couldn't see much more than 100 yards ahead of us because of the dirt and the dust out there. But there were men working out here for a long time, I'd say 2 years, with heavy amounts of dirt up on the bank. That means they were deep down into the ground doing work out there. Now this area is covered completely. There's nothing to be shown out there. It's been restored to its natural look, just like this area out in here was.
What do you have on the surface where those 5 buildings are?
Dirt.
What's there?
Dirt. Right now there's just dirt, and now it's got grass and sage started to grow back up on all of this area out here. They put enough topsoil on top of everything to where you cannot see it from the air.
Can we say that some kind of secret task force that belongs to the government is behind all of this planning, construction, and secret buildings?
I believe that this is FEMA.
What's FEMA?
Federal Emergency Military Aid. Management Agency. Federal Emergency Management Agency.
Federal.
Okay, we're back. We had just listened to an about 11-minute clip from a construction worker who's working on the New World Airport or Denver International Airport. And one thing that struck me, and clear me up on this if you can, he seemed to indicate beside the actual airport that there was something like a side project in proximity, adjacent part of perhaps the airport construction, and then he speaks about another site that seems to be removed but within a visual line of sight from where he was working. Can you address whether or not we have 2 other things going on besides the airport being built?
Yeah, this was publicly admitted to a certain extent. The Denver International Airport Commission, they actually called it the New World Airport Commission, talked about various sub-projects related to DIA, and they had related in quotes. This came out in the paper in '93. One project had to do with, quote, underground cooling towers and buildings that were built, but unfortunately the construction company built them in the wrong place, so we just had to cover them up with dirt and let it go at that. I've actually got the news article on that where they actually admitted that to the paper. They call it a related construction project. They don't say it was, part of DIA's, whatever. They just say it was related. That was the one he talks about. That it seems to me from his map that he drew, and from what I've seen of the DIA aerial maps, that seems to be on the northwest side of the airport. You can actually see where they covered these buildings up because there's a huge mound on the north side of the airport by the north security gate. They will not talk about that. Now, the other project he talked about was south of DIA, and that's actually off the DIA property. I've actually been to that site. That site is a building, probably about the size of the average ranch-style house. That is some type of communications hub. I actually managed to sneak up to the building when the door was open. Quest operates it, our local phone company here. When I looked inside, it looks like a telephone switching center, but it's got all kinds of computer equipment. They've got switching centers there. However, they have tunnels going south and north that are above ground. You can actually see them. They come off of the buildings. They're covered with dirt. They go for about 100 feet, and then they dip down into the ground. Now, I wasn't able to get completely inside the building. It's a government and communications phone company building. I would have been doing time with Bubba if I'd actually tried to get inside the building. But I got close enough that I could look in the open door that they had left open, and that has got to be connected to underground because I could see in both directions, and you could see the walkways actually slope downward into the ground in between the rows of equipment.
Has there ever been any talk about runways being unusually long?
Yes. Oh yeah, that was a big issue with everybody because by the time DIA was built, the construction started. The Concorde was pretty much finished. I mean, they had so many of them crash. They had basically the French just grounded the Concorde at that point. So everybody's like, why do you need these extra long runways? The 747 can use a runway half the length. City of Denver never explained it. They just told the media that they wanted to be prepared for, quote, future expansions and newer aircraft.
Were the covered-up runways of exceptional length beyond what a commercial airliner needs? Do you know?
Those would be the two runways he talked about. Now, I only saw one in the overhead maps from the city of Denver as well as on Google, so there could have easily been two, but I saw one, and it did appear to be about 2,000 feet longer than the runways next to it, from what I saw on the map. So it was an exceptionally long runway.
I exchanged IMs during the construction workers' little conference there, and the person is retired Air Force, and I asked, are military airstrips considerably longer than those needed for commercial airliners? It says, yes, part of my job was to aid in the transportation of VIPs to and from smaller strips. However, it does depend on the mission and how discreet the operation must appear. We can get into some of the speculation or the conjecture about what function this airport will serve. But I'd just like to ask this. I mean, given what may happen in the not-too-distant future, which might mean World War III and possibly the United States absorbing either internally or being lobbed in some nukes, what I see is that when we finally have to give up the United States, one of the ways it will be made more expeditious is to render D.C. uninhabitable. The old Mystery Babylon Religion Center for the new one.
Yep.
That new one I just see, and that's all I can say, as being Denver, and for an airport to serve a global type of situation, which might be much more busy than any single airport would be in these days.
Yep.
Do you want to speak to that? Because I mean, obviously, I've said this before. It looks like it's headed that way, but other than the government continually moving parts of certain agencies and such out to Colorado, I don't really have anything to go on. So, Bill, speak to it as you will.
Okay. people have looked at this going clear back to the 70s and have said, the New World Order is going to have some kind of regional center or some center of political power, economic, military might. In recent years, this has been proven that Denver will be that center, not just because of DIA, but Newt Gingrich also admitted, it's been quite a number of years ago, this was during the Clinton administration, that Newt Gingrich admitted that Denver was the backup government for the United States government if Washington, D.C. got taken out. He admitted on TV and in the congressional record on C-SPAN that everything is set up in Denver for facilities for a federal Congress, a federal alphabet soup agencies like FBI, CIA, and President, and said that the military command and control will be transferred to the Denver regional area in the case of a nuclear attack that would take out Washington, D.C. So it's been publicly admitted that we would become the de facto federal government, the new Washington, D.C., if the old D.C. got taken out.
I don't know why they would necessarily use that place unless there was going to be something other flanking to be a distribution center, if you will, and in a jaded sense, in Ellis Island for those who are going to go off to the varied detention camps as civil internees and such. That I don't know. Does it really matter? Who knows? Well, we can talk more about this tomorrow when we also hear what else the construction worker has to say. It's another 11 minutes. One other thing, we all know that Colorado, as the Rocky Mountain state, has a history of being a very, very heavily mined state for copper, I assume, and silver and gold. So it did lend itself to underground passageways. We all pretty much assume, and I think accurately so, that much has gone on beneath us without our knowing it.
Oh, yeah.
Has anybody ever seen boring machines out there, or has there been any kind of talk about something going on below the surface, as it is also connected to the Denver airport, thinking like they do in D.C., have an underground way they can get out to Mount Weather and such in West Virginia?
Right. There are actually 3 people, and that doesn't include this construction worker, but there are 3 people that have alleged that there is an underground there. One of them is the telephone technician that gave me the information on the advanced phone call warning of the Columbine shooting. He actually helped install the fiber optics, and he saw tunnel boring machines, and these were pretty good-sized machines. He said they were about as big as semi-trucks in the tunnels, and he said there is a tunnel that goes from downtown Denver all the way out to DIA, and it is a 2-lane passenger highway. And he was out there during the construction of the tunnel going from downtown Denver to DIA, and he saw the actual tunnel boring machine sitting in a side tunnel, and they were changing tracks or something on it. They were changing something on it. Another one is a lady that lives south of DIA, and she could hear rumbling under the ground at night. It never happened during the day, and she was, big into all this conspiracy stuff, and she had asked some people associated with Denver, and they said, oh, yes, that's the underground construction associated with the tramways and the trains and such, like, yeah, we're using machines to dig the tunnels. So they kind of loosely admitted it, but only in association with the publicly known aspects of DIA. However, there is a third individual I met in film school, and he worked at Buckley Air National Guard. He was a civilian contractor. His job was to maintain those globes out there that pick up all the classified data off the satellites. And he also handled the underground construction out there related to fiber optics and other lines. And he said that they, at the time, the National Guard and the Air Force were working together, actually dug a tunnel going from Buckley Air National Guard, which is directly south of DIA, about 6 miles, and that tunnel connected to DIA. He actually admitted this publicly. There's like 20 of us in the room when he admitted it, and said that basically that DIA has a multiple purposes. He said it is a civilian airport, but in the time of emergencies, it can be easily converted to military use in case of nuclear, chemical, or biological attack.
Yeah, Stewart Air Force Base along the Hudson River in Newburgh, New York. It was a strange, in fact, it still remains a strange airport in the sense of that sometimes it's commercial. It's always military. But sometimes it's commercial, sometimes it's not. It's got this kind of, dual purpose, which is strange to see for an airport. Usually you're either military or you're commercial.
Yeah.
And my buddy's flown in there a couple of times as well. So when I think about the use of the runways out at New World Airport, I don't think it's a stretch to say that there's a capability to go along with that. Also, none of us really know how extensive tunneling takes place. Obviously, it would not be a good idea in Florida. But, through a mountainous terrain and such, I think it's probably an easier way of going. Also, we know that there have been articles in the Times about Russia building underground facilities, and the question was, if the Cold War is over, why are we doing this? So, something obviously is going on. Boring machines are not a fiction. You can see what they look like. Also, even Orwell mentioned this as a projection in 1984. I also want to tell you, as we wrap this part of the part one up of the two-part series on New World Airport, that Dwight the Bright sent me, I guess, a Google a shot of New World Airport, and he said there's another interesting configuration, which could be coincidence, and that would be one that's owl-like. So that's now in your email, Bill, for you to take a look at. Again, is it a coincidence? Who knows? We've all seen also the configuration, I guess, of a facility that's military down in San Diego. That, it does look like it's a swastika, so who knows. Also, I got an email from the Air Force person that says Frankfurt Airport, Germany, is dual purpose depending upon necessity. Exactly. The reason I also bring up Stewart, by the way, and we said this on the show with regard to 9/11, that whatever flew down the Hudson River, which probably were replacements for 11 and 175, Stewart had to know something was up, because that is not commercial airspace. They do not fly down the Hudson. Private aviation does, commercial doesn't. So when Stewart saw that first one and then a second one, they knew something was definitely up. Now we get into the whole bit about, do we know whether or not this was a drill, blah, 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 but nothing's ever been said. Actually, not much has been said about Stewart and what they saw first thing as far as the planes going, let's just say, off course, strangely. So at any rate, okay, what we'll do is, Bill, we'll come back tomorrow, and we'll talk more about the second half of this guy's presentation, the construction worker who worked on Denver Airport, and then we'll also talk about the murals and just how strange they are.
Okay.
All right, so we shall see you tomorrow, same time, same bat channel.
Okay.
All right, bye-bye. Well, this is the Grassy Knoll. With me, once again from Colorado, is Bill Zabel. We're talking about Denver International Airport, also known, in fact, officially known as New World Airport. This is part 2. And those of you, whether you're listening to this live or whether or not you are going to listen to the archives, anything but in your car, let's put it that way. I know, a lot of folks just like to burn a CD and take it with them. That's not going to help too much with this kind of show, because it's going to have some visuals involved with it. You can go, and you said you have them up there on phantomchasers.net, right, Bill?
Yes, I do.
Okay, what is the link they should click on?
They can click on conspiracy links and scroll halfway down the page, and they will see the little photo of DIA, and it'll say DIA, what's going on, and you just click on the title, and it will take you to that page.
All right, and you can also go to Vyzygoth.com, and you can look at the photos. You can find them on the left-hand side of the page. It'll say New World Airport Murals. Okay, now, why don't we do that? Why don't we start with the murals? And again, I apologize for being a little bit discombobulated here, but as I said, I just got hit on the PC with viruses, and we're doing this with baling wire and duct tape. Okay, Bill, first of all, what we see here is a document. I was once a little child who longed for other worlds. Why? But I am no more a child, for I have known fear. I have learned to hate. How tragic, then, is youth which lives with enemies with gallows ropes. Yet I still believe I only sleep today, that I'll wake up a child again and start to laugh and play.
What's the deal on this?
I've been told, now if you read down below, there's actually names.
Can you read it?
Yes, it is. Just barely read it. The last name is, it's Hennenberg or something like that, but the date is December 15th, 1945.
Okay, so this must have been, obviously, a note of a child during World War II?
Right.
Maybe, yeah?
Yeah, now I asked about this one time when I looked, and one of the guys that, because I did what I don't think most people know, because it wasn't a real famous deal, was I did the advertising for the new Denver International Business Center, which sits just west of DIA. And I asked the guys involved in that about this. I said, you guys know a lot about the artwork, and what is this? They said this letter is actually a partial letter that a child wrote in the concentration camps in World War II Germany. And it's only part of the letter, from what I understand. It's not the whole thing. There's like a whole treatise in this thing. And I thought, well, okay, but, at least you could explain to the viewers, that go through DIA that would look at this, because they would just read this little part, and I think coupled with the other murals, they might begin to wonder just what kind of strange stuff is going on, because they never explain it. And I've seen the plaque, the mural, and they don't explain this. So it's kind of bizarre in itself that you would only include this little part where obviously this child, when they talk about I only sleep today and I'll wake up a child again, it's really talking about death. Obviously this child is either facing death or they know that they're going to die or think they are.
Well, yeah, it is quite a morbid letter, but you can understand, given the experience that a young person would have. As a quick aside, if you will, Bill, this is so ironic. This is happening to me in my life because being the age I am, I was very young when one of the independent stations in New York, WPIX Channel 11, whose logo was the Trade Towers, ran a lot of World War II footage. There were series like Victory at the Sea and so many of them. And I remember looking at the footage of young children, and I said to myself, not so much at that age when I was watching it, but those memories were emblazoned in my brain. And I remember saying, later on, what a bummer that when one is born into life, that one might have had the draw of being, say, born in Poland in 1930, being 5 years old, and like, what is this? You know what I mean? Watching the rise of what would be World War II. Also, if you happen to be corralled into concentration camps or work camps or whatever. I mean, you got one shot in this life, and you get beamed to the earth. Like, what a bonus, However, what I find interesting, Bill, and I think you'd agree with me, that we have been dropped in a particular epoch that might be as horrible, if not more horrible, than World War II, depending on when it happens.
Oh, yeah.
Because what is coming, whether it's WW3, which I would assume it is, I think Revelation would bear out some kind of global conflagration, but, they're talking about a time unprecedented in murder, mayhem, chaos, destruction.
Yep.
So, as much as I felt bad, truly bad for people who were born into that particular epoch as well, it's like, well, guess what? You might want to prepare yourself because it looks like you're going to get the all-time doo-doo storm. So, at any rate, given that the first mural we're talking about is a replica, I guess you could say an artistic rendition of a note written by a, as you said, concentration camp child, right? All right, anything on that before we go to number 2?
No, there is a shape in the background, and I've been told that all of the shapes mean something if you can figure it out.
You mean the one that's throwing a shadow, so to speak?
Yeah.
Beyond the letter?
Yeah. And the guy that I talked to said he didn't know what they all were, but that he had talked to the original artist, and the original artist had told him all the shapes mean something. He says they all relate to other objects that are, in the frame, which, artistically speaking, they would. I would just have to say that if I went to an art museum, I would not expect to see something like this. I mean, there's people that have painted renditions of, the landing on Omaha Beach and all that kind of stuff, and, we understand it. This kind of stuff is a little bit morbid. And when you look at this, I mean, this letter, the way it's curved, the way it's sitting in this painting, you don't really get a good indication other than the name and the date on the bottom of what's going on with this person. And it's almost like somebody is teasing you a little bit, like, figure it out, that kind of thing.
Yeah, the only thing I can read into this, I mean, other people might have their own impressions, no doubt. And I'm trying to get back up on my computer so that I can take IMs. It looks like it's going to happen. And folks, if you want to jump in on this, by all means, use Vyzygoth if you're using MSN Messenger, and you can also send emails to Vyzygoth@hotmail.com. I can take them. Lady Viz has just told me that she took a look. I guess I would have done this if I had my magnifying glass. It says the date on it is December 18th, 1943.
1943, okay.
All right. I don't know, Okay, yeah, I think it does. But, I mean, because obviously in 45 they could have been liberated.
Yeah, that might have been a liberation date.
December 18th. All right. As far as the shapes go, it looks to me like it's almost, again, saber-like, which we'll see later on. It's got that kind of, swoosh to it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But that background, why like that? So anyway, still strange. And like you said too, even Pilot Pete, when he was there, it's going, like, is this a place for that, really? And that's what you're saying too. I mean, why?
Yeah.
Why there?
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to do something like that, I mean, down here at the Denver Historical Society, they have a place for World War II imagery, and I've been in there, and it shows a lot of stuff like this, but it's more real world. It's not this imaginary stuff like you're looking here. And I think that the murals, as you look at them one by one, they're a picture. They're kind of like a film strip. If you put them together and you look at them going through them, it's like you're progressing through something. The problem is if you look at the rest of the airport, from the political and financial scams to the men and women who wanted this thing in and their connection to a lot of icky stuff in this world, it's obvious that, overall somebody's trying to send a message not just with the murals, but the whole airport. The whole thing is just one big, banner advertisement on a website.
You and I talked about this before we came on yesterday, and I think there's something we have to get a grip on. I mean, that's not a derisive statement to make about you, me, or anybody out there. But, we have made excuses, even after we've gotten it, about the Masonic symbolism in our country. And, there are people who believe that George Washington really was the real deal, and he eschewed Masonry later on. But you know what? Why would anybody do that? I mean, honest to goodness, I don't. These guys were supposedly Christians, baloney. Not the founding fathers. What was Jefferson? And what was Franklin? He's a rake. But my point is, they load the country up with this, and you don't do it unless there's a point to it.
Right.
And we're still seeing it with this. Now, go ahead, Bill. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's when you look back even in the first years of this country's existence and what little money the government had, it was just starting off, to put all the symbology into Washington, D.C. and into New York and places like that is a lot of money. Back in those days, you didn't spend money frivolously like you can today.
Well, you don't have it. You just spend air.
Yeah. And to see the way that they took such care of laying out Washington, D.C., and the way you can get the pentagram out of that, it's like, you don't do that by accident.
No.
You don't just accidentally lay down marks and do that.
I'll be reading chapters from a very short book. Actually, it's a spiral-bound manuscript called The Conspiracy by John Wright. It was sent to me by a listener in Nebraska. Very, very interesting. Probably could have gone in depth, probably could have done, a tome on it. But he's a Christian who's taking what symbolism there is. And you know what? Really, it goes beyond Masonry. This is about Mystery Babylon religion. When I go on shows sometimes where I got to watch what I say because people can't figure out that there's upper degrees of Masonry that are, not the nicest guys in the world. They all get mad. I'm like, no, I'm not talking about the guys down the lodge. I'm talking about what goes beyond. Of course, none of these people ever read Albert Pike or Manly Hall or anything like that, so they don't even know about their own thing. But, I mean, this goes beyond Freemasonry, right down to the satanic overtone. It's not even overtones, it's overt. So now we see this happen again, this kind of garishness. I mean, the Masons have a cap or a cornerstone out there. Have you seen that?
Yes, I have.
Okay. And also, folks, you can see that by hitting Bill's site, phantomchasers.net, and he has a link that will take you to what's been a long-time site there in GeoCities, where you can see the cornerstone, you can see the Jefferson maps and stuff, the layout of the runways at that time. So what I'm saying is that if they've stamped this, it means something. If they stamp DC, as you said, and who laid it out but the French Freemason Lafont, so they've done it here. So this is more than just a regular airport. You don't name it New World Airport. You don't put the symbology in there unless there's a reason. And again, Mystery Babylon religion strikes once again.
Yep.
We are the New World Order, folks. We're the ones bringing it on. The United States is the New World Order. It was meant to be that. We are the federated experiment for what's going to happen globally. All right. Can we go to that second image?
Sure.
All right. What we got here? And folks, if you're watching this again, you can hit it from both Bill's site and mine, New World Airport murals. And what we have here are obviously children, we should say 3 races. Teddy bear there. And what is this? Is this books or blocks? What's the story behind this one?
These are actually blocks. These are bricks from destroyed structures. If you look behind the woman in the back wrapped in the blanket, you can see what look like the wooden wall of a building or a hut or something, and it's all torn from the top down. You can see how it's shredded. And all 3 of these women are laying in the rubble of once was. Whether it be their home or whether it be just represents a city or a community, they're asleep in the destruction of what was. And if you look up in the right-hand corner, you can see the saber coming down towards them.
Now, this is just a snapshot of something that's larger. Was that stormtrooper in there at all?
Yes, he is. If you actually look, these are all sectional pictures. They're basically what they did was that they couldn't get the whole thing in view and give anybody detail. So when they took the photos, they started from the top, got real close, took a photo, then went down a little ways and took another one. If you put JPEG 2 and JPEG 3 together, you have the stormtrooper Nazi guy in the big green uniform on Mural 3, got an AK in one hand and the saber in the other, and the woman in the one image is sitting right below the stormtrooper.
Okay, so if you play back and forth between what we're going to call graphic 2 with the 3 children, which are below his saber, and then you go down to 3, you can see the continued structural destruction. You can also see another individual who you can't see in graphic 2. And that person happens to be in a... oh, wait, no, is that the same? Oh, it is. Okay, I got it now. All right. It's all coming together.
Yep.
All right, I see. Okay, now we got the stormtrooper. Yeah, now what's interesting is there anything to the fact that it's kind of a... If you think, I would even call it Russian. The great coat.
Yeah.
It
could be Russian.
And also, the hat. And also, and on the hat, of course, is a symbol that we've all, held dear. But the eagle is something that, honestly, has always been associated with fascism, hasn't it? And of course, you could say the double-headed eagle is also an occult Ordo ad Chaos symbol as well.
Yeah. And you notice he's wearing a gas mask, or
Darth Vader,
kind of a skeleton-type face, maybe. But I've been told that people have seen the mural up close and looked up, said it definitely looks like a gas mask because the front, where his mouth should be, they actually have a little screen painted in there, but you can't see it in these pictures because you can't get close enough.
The screen?
You actually walk right up to these murals.
The screen being...
like a filter type thing on the front.
Okay. I'm wondering, like, what the deal is, why the saber also? Why the AK? I mean, you got something, obviously, it may mean nothing, I understand, but you've got a weapon that seems to be kind of obsolete when you've got an AK, with you.
Mm-hmm.
But,
you notice he also has a sidearm, too.
Yeah, and a sidearm, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, unless this is supposed to represent all the fascism of all the worlds throughout time, you know what I mean? Those who use the saber, et cetera, et cetera. All right, what's with the train of people off to the left-hand side? I'll never get as close a look as you've had on it.
I've had a little bit closer look, and it looks to me like these people are like riding a stairway to heaven, I guess you could say it is. If you look at it in person and you get a good look at this photo, you can tell that walkway keeps going upwards towards the sky. And that's pretty interesting. To me, it's just a symbolism of what we've seen throughout history, where whenever governments go wrong and they go after the people, you have either whole herds of people that are either killed or they are pushed out of their country. You end up with a lot of refugees. These could be refugees, or because the thing is slanting upwards towards the sky, these could be people that this soldier has killed and has sent them onward.
All right. A couple things. One, can you tell that these people, one, are actually running, and two, can you see if under a magnifying glass whether or not it's like a joyful running or trying to get out of Dodge?
The only thing that I can see is there's one person that seems to be turned around looking at the Darth Vader guy. The others are running, and there is a very shocked expression on his face from what I can see. So I would say that it's a running, like trying to get away, like, they know this thing is coming, whatever it is or whoever it is. And so they're like trying to get away from it.
Well, the other thing is we see kind of into this, whatever you want to call it, tunnel or swoosh. But is that also part of what arcs behind the stormtrooper's head?
Yes. Yeah, it arcs around and comes up over his head. And in front of him, it goes down almost to the ground in front of him.
What I'm also thinking about, too, and this is what first hit me, and that is we are headed for what is the lie from the pit. And what we most associate with Nimrod, and that is the Tower of Babel, and trying to reach to the heavens and be as God, which is what the one world government will try to do as well, considering it's manufactured by the same entity, which is Satan. So that's what kind of hit me also, that, are we looking at a Babel, one big happy family type of symbology here?
Yeah.
All right, shall we move to the next one?
Yes.
And here we have, it's a pullback, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Oh, and it gets even more interesting, because now as you get to the foreground in the lower left-hand corner, you have, obviously, mother and child, which has all kinds of inherent symbology there as well. Yeah, I mean, whether it's Mary and Jesus' child, or whether it's, the story of Nimrod and, obviously, and his mother, Semiramis. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the mother, again, related very much to occultism, and then you look up even higher, and what do you have? A rainbow.
Yep.
That's the swoosh that it turns into. I get it now, okay.
Yep.
All right, so this gets better as you're pulling back.
Yeah, and if you look to his immediate right, you see close to his knees, what would be his knees, there's like a little flame color orange there, and then further down to the right and lower, it looks like the remains of a building. And you can only surmise what maybe they're trying to enlighten you to there. I've been told by people that they think that that's the WTC towers.
Well,
no, it doesn't quite look like them, but
I'll tell you what, you can make it look like anything you want to, because obviously there are images where when you looked at that very first close-up with the children, what looks splintered behind there too reminded me, obviously, of what we saw with the fascia of the towers, kind of like just kind of sprocketing up. But of course, it also harkens back to Berlin and England and such. So What's this guy done? Has he got himself a dove on the end of his saber?
It looks like it.
Okay.
Yeah, because if you look if you look at it real close, the dove is going downward like he's falling.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it looks like he's been killed, honestly, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Also, if somebody wanted to know what site it is, go to my site. Just if you're on the computer right now, go to Vyzygoth.com, left-hand side, New World Airport murals. That'll get you there. Let's see. Okay. All right, so we get it with the dove. All right, this is the bad guy. We go down to the next frame, or do you have something else you want to add to that one?
Nothing really more to add to that one.
Now, I see an exit door on the left-hand side. Is this mural like, is it a wall mural, like ground level to the ceiling, or what?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this goes from the ceiling to the floor. All these murals do. Like I said, you can walk right up to them, and they are in the Jepson Concourse in the upper level in what they call the gallery. If you walk through the concourse, anybody that's ever been to DIA, and look up stairs from the Jepson Concourse, it's all open ceiling, and you can look around the top and you see these murals. And the way you get to them is on either side of the concourse, they have stairs that take you up to the second level. And they call it the gallery.
Okay. Okay. Also, we have a comment. It said the whole thing is a depiction that, and this is a quote, unless... all right, it's a little bit rugged language here. It says that unless we turn to the NWO and be like little children, ready to be led by them, what is being depicted here will be our future. They are telling us the choice is ours, with a derisive ha, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Also, postscript says they must have planned this for centuries. The fallen angels had to have aided on this. The images are legion. Yeah, and that's another whole situation as well. And by the way, also, I just want to ask you, Bill, one of the things we left out, in which this listener also sent something to me with regard to the New World Airport. One thing we kind of forget about, because it doesn't seem as spooky, and I guess we kind of like poo-poo it now, because actually this particular organization has almost been, I don't know, almost engendered by people because of The Sopranos, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, was there any kind of talk about mob activity?
Oh, yeah. I mean, when you talk about the money that went into that and the guys that showed up to the dedication, I've got a photo somewhere. I've got to dig it out. It was in the Rocky Mountain News, and if I can find it, it'll be up on my website. They show all of the people that were at the opening, and here in Denver, we had a mob group. They're all in federal prison now. They were called the Small Dones. And the great-grandson of one of the Small Dones was actually there at the dedication, and he actually got to speak, and I thought, why is a great-grandson of the biggest mob criminal family in Denver speaking at the opening of DIA? So, yeah, there's mob money in that, and the mobs, you know, a mobster's great-grandson came in and spoke, so, yeah, there's a mob connection.
Yeah, and one aside real quick, and that is, I never watched The Sopranos. I haven't had cable like in a million years. But I think one thing that people have to remember, and that is they're making warm and fuzzy a group of people who have killed the husbands and wives and children and fathers of other people. You know, and nobody wants to be involved in something like that. So just think about it. They're murderers for the most part. They're thieves for another part. And to make them or lionize them or make them look, I don't know, acceptable. I mean, folks, think about it. I mean, where I lived, I kind of got on the streets just after one of the, I guess the last real big surge of violence. You know, and you know, I could go to a restaurant across from the old Palisades Amusement Park, which overlooked the Hudson, and that same place was a barbershop where I guess it was Willie Moretti was, I mean, shot like 700 times. It's not pretty, you know. It's people got to remember that. So, at any rate, yeah, one of the things that this listener also stated was there was mob involvement also. I want to see if I can read some of this without giving away too much. If you can just bear with me for a second. Let's see. I don't think I want to do that just in case it might be too indicative of who this person is. I think I'll just let that go. But yeah, I think that this listener also believed that whatever was happening might have been, I think I got this right, might have been controlled by the St. Louis mob. I don't know if something had happened or if there was any kind of vacuum in Denver at that time. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Well, I know MDC Holdings, which created a front company to buy up the land for DIE and turn it over. MDC Holdings was all mobbed up. That whole company was mobbed. And people play down the mob here in Denver, but unfortunately my grandfather knew them all. He was a taxi driver. And when you're a taxi driver, you get to meet these people. You know, and they always told him, they say, oh, you ever need anything done, give us a call, you know, that kind of thing. And he always told me, he says, you know, stay away from these people, you know, don't go to their gambling halls, don't do this, don't do that. And I said, are these people even exist in Denver? And he says, oh, yeah. And I said, well, how come you never hear about it? You always hear Chicago and New York. And my grandfather never could understand it. They always played down the mob here in Denver like it didn't exist.
I think we also discount the fact that you know, that they are an aid. I would assume, like in Italy, for instance, in Sicily, to the P2 Masonic Lodge there, and might do some of their bidding as well. So they're not, you know, the Cosa Nostra or whatever is not necessarily detached from this whole New World Order episode, although we don't kind of really equate it with it, but it's probably a prong.
Right.
However,
and I think people have to remember that without the help of the mob, we probably would not have stopped the sabotage to our Navy ships during World War II in dock, because the mob controlled the docks. And we would have had a hard time getting new ships commissioned and get them out of the docks without getting them blown up. Most people don't know about that part of the history. They know about the mob, you know, helping us, you know, in World War II in Italy so that we could get our soldiers in there. I mean, basically the mob cleared the way so that we could get into Italy and places like that. What they don't know is a little-known history where the United States Naval Intelligence Office contracted with the mob to get rid of the spies in the naval shipyards.
You know, now, I never thought about that episode, but now, thinking the way I do, I'm wondering if it isn't a case, too, of creating the problem so they could supply the solution.
Yeah.
You know, because, I mean, I'll give you, it's like big protection. I mean, one Christmas, as you know, the Italians are big for fish and Christmas and all this stuff, so myself and Officer Conti went down to Fulton Fish Market. He was running the store for his father before he became actually a policeman. And now remember, this guy's going to be a cop. So we go, you know, it's like 4 o'clock in the morning. We pull up in a pickup truck. It's cold, and you know, there's like 55-gallon drum fires going here and there. And he goes, listen, I'll be right back. I watch him leave. He goes to these 4 guys, and he reaches in his pocket, and he fans out some bills. And I come back, and he comes back to me, and I go, is that what I think it is? He goes, yeah. He says, what it does is it protects my parking place and protects my vehicle. So it's like, well, if you don't pay, what happens? They're the ones that'll, bash your vehicle. So, so even in the Navy times, I mean, who knows really, whether they weren't making a little big for themselves, it's hard to say, but.
Right. And when we look at the New World Order and the airport and what they're doing, take a look at the U.S. military and what it does around the world. Countries that are very partial to us never seem to have terrorist attacks. Countries that flip us the bird suddenly end up getting bombed. And you have to ask yourself, is the military just another mob organization? Being used to either protect you or break your kneecaps, so to speak.
Yeah. Easy choice.
Yeah.
Also, we got an interesting IM. It says, I remember having to vacate the Travelers Insurance Tower where I was working in the early 80s after Jimmy Hoffa ended up missing. Someone had threatened to blow up the building because he owned the liquor shop in the lobby, Southfield, Michigan. Also, I've been to the restaurant in Rochester, Michigan, where he was last seen. So, yeah, okay. All right, thanks for that. And also, the listener said that it's good that I do not say anything, and I figured that, so I appreciate that. And I won't. We got a whole lot of responses here. And, Bill, I hope you don't mind if we go over. Is that okay with you? I mean, I don't know if you got something pressing. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Also, folks, because I had some problems in the beginning, just to recap, something happened, and the PC just locked up. and I had to switch over to the laptop. So, I mean, it took some while, and I don't know how many of you I lost when I had to bring down Live 365. Again, we're getting some other... okay, the wise guy from Utica says, I scrolled ahead, these pictures look like illustrations in Jehovah's Witnesses publications. But I mean, I've seen who this artist is. I mean, this is the genre that he works in with these vivid colors, little almost Aztecian, can we say? Do you know much about the painter? Did I say author? I mean painter.
Yeah, the artist himself is from New Mexico. He was up here during the dedication of the airport, and I desperately tried to get to talk to this guy, and he was surrounded by publicists, and I don't know, could have been bodyguards too, but they weren't real big guys, but you couldn't get near him, and I really wanted to ask him, and since I couldn't get near him, I started looking for literature. They said they had a pamphlet out about him, and I picked up this pamphlet, and I was looking at some of his other work, and all of his work follows the same theme. He's done a lot of, like, Aztec, Native American type paintings, and it always has the same thing. It's always people wandering around like, you know, they just got bombed out of existence. He's got one of the old, you know, Aztec pyramid, and the Aztec people are walking up to it like they're walking up the stairway to heaven. It's bizarre. All of his work has the same themes.
When we're looking at this image, and I forgot which one it is, it's even a further pullback, and it's to the left of where we were with the stormtrooper on the right-hand side of that exit door.
Mm-hmm.
All right, now we jumped over to the left-hand side of the exit door, and apparently, now what do we got here? Is this like a funeral or something, or?
Well, what all this is, in this photo here, like I said, when I was out there, I didn't get this close of a look at them because I was in a hurry. I was going through the airport. This is where you see all these kids, and they've got flags from around the world, and some of them are happy, some of them are sullen. But if you look at them real close, the one kid down in the not far to the right, but down towards the bottom where that little, it looks like a flag unfurls down to the floor.
Like a scroll, yeah.
Yeah, there is a whole bunch of weapons there, and the kids have a flag wrapped around it, and they're holding it. And there's the exact same thing on the opposite side of the painting in mural number 6, the next slide.
All right, when I'm looking here, what we're talking about is 5 now, right?
Right.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I also see that, well, it looks like things are getting better. Obviously, the two doves are, they're perched on top of the AK?
Yes.
All right, let me break with some comments. One, this is the Irish wise guy from New York City, TR. Demonize the Eshkatan. If you've ever listened to the Collins Brothers, Bill.
Yeah.
You can't get through a show without that. All right, enough of the levity. Let's see.
You'll notice that the rainbow continues too, from the mural on the right side of the door. It continues on through.
Right, a little Pink Floyd action there.
Yeah.
Also, okay. Hang in there, we got something that says, okay, the first picture says, all right, I guess Lady Viz has been looking even closer. It says 14 years old, died December 18th, 1943. So that's the story on that child. She's blown it up, I guess, with Photoshop or something. So thank you for that, Lady Viz. Also, another comment. This is from somebody who was a U.S. Air Force lifer, I guess, about the military. I definitely agree. The military is one big organized crime vendetta with all the good, innocent people in the forefront making them look good, just like the Masons. All right, thank you for that. We're going to move on a little bit more. Okay, now we're swinging a little bit more to the left. Who took these photos, by the way?
These particular photos here, they came from a website that Bob found. Now, his photos are different in the documentary.
Yeah.
They're closer up than these, but he lost the original documentary, and then I found it and put it out for everyone. But these photos here are different. These come from, I'm trying to think, he said the website, and I think he knows the people that put it up. I'll find out where the website is, and put that link up on my website so you can see the original description of the murals. looks like the person who did the original website was just like a visitor to DIA, and they hung around long enough to take pictures and ask people questions.
Can you see better than I? And folks, if you can see, on the left-hand side, what we also see are like, there are flags juxtaposed of representing nations who have been at war or have been at each other for a long time. Like we can see in the lower left of center, you've got a Brit flag and an Irish flag. Mm-hmm. That's clear. Over to the right, I see the Star of David. And I don't know if that's next to, say, the Palestinian flag or whatever. But anyway, I'm just taking a look around here also. Now we got the stormtroopers dead.
Yep. Yeah, he's deflated, laying at the bottom down there.
Okay. All right. And then we also have flags in the upper left-hand corner.
Mm-hmm.
I can't make that out. It almost looks like Iraq.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it looks like Iraq. And if you look at the flags, all of them are wrapped around weapons, and the kids are holding them.
Yep. Correct. All right. So we're to the end of war here. The Wicked Witch is dead. We go to the next one. Now this is kind of strange for a lot of reasons, and also the flags on the left. I forget who the one to the far left. I know it's not the American flag. It's another flag that's got stars, and I can't remember. Oh, you know what it is? It's Turkey.
Turkey.
Yeah, it's one star inside the crescent.
Yep.
And then that person's with this individual, and the flag I can't identify. It's India, I think. I think it's India.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the kids look like they're from India that are holding it.
Right. You know what's interesting, too, is obviously this problem's between India and Pakistan. Pakistan being Islamic crescent and star right there, and India being basically Hindu.
Yep.
Now, what is with the X's and O's?
That I have never figured out. I've asked people, and one person thought, you know, how like you play a random game of tic-tac-toe to see who wins. And if you've ever seen the computer version of tic-tac-toe, you know, it's a real, you have to real quickly put in your X's and your O's to win. And I'm wondering if there's something about that, like a game of tic-tac-toe almost. Like, okay, you put an X here, I'm going to put an O here. Almost like competition or controversy maybe or something like that.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, something's going on with that as well, though.
Mm-hmm.
I was almost thinking of computer bytes, you know, but that would be zeros and ones, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. Also, we just got something, maybe you can help out here. Listener says, there's a video that shows a mural wall at DIA, I think, but I've only seen it once, and it was on this video. I have not come across it before. Could you ask Bill about it? It shows a person wrapped up in an American flag, and in the middle is a face which seems to be split into 3 different personages. It was hard to tell from what little I was able to see. In the video, it was impossible to get a really good look at the thing. Is this familiar to you at all, Bill?
No, it's not.
All right, well, I'll have to look at it. I did get a bunch of video links that I'll have to go back and take a look at, so I couldn't help out there. I'm just looking over another one. All right. I won't read that. That'll be for another time. Okay, so we're moving on now. Everybody's happy. And folks, we're going to run over, you know, so if you can stay with us, we appreciate it. Obviously, you can hit in the archives if you have to, but we're going to do a little bit more here, probably run a half an hour over. All right, now we keep heading further left, and of course, yes, once again, all the weapons are wrapped up in flags.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's interesting, too, because in the one-world situation, you don't want sovereignties.
Right.
So I wonder what happened. All right, now the flags do what? And do we get rid of the flags? I mean, I don't know if we're going to see this at the end of the murals, but it seems interesting that they'll play the sovereignty game, at least for the sake of this symbology.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one thing I forgot to do, the next image is one that's only half exposed. And you know, it's funny because down here in Florida we have the Alafia River. And if you notice on the scroll, it's Alafia or Alafia, whatever you want to do. Down here they call it Alafia. I wonder what the history is behind that. If anybody's searching around who's listening, if you can find something that might explain why that word would be there. Obviously, whoever named that river in Florida near Tampa did it for the same purpose.
Yeah. And that's the slide. Yeah, that's the slide that didn't come out right.
Right.
Okay, yeah. I never could figure that out.
Well, yeah, actually we've seen it from for a greater distance.
Yeah.
What we're missing really is just what was below. We were talking about it with the Union Jack and the Irish flag and such.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're missing in that half-exposed photo. Also, okay, the stormtrooper's dead. Nothing further there. They got the saber away from him. All right, now, I've gone down further, and again, I can't identify the language with that Pacoya, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And that reminds me of something, too, which apparently isn't that nefarious, but there seemed to be on the floor of the Denver airport a number of images, almost looking horoscopic, if you will, with what seems to be some Navajo words and also some landmarks. Nothing necessarily nefarious in that. Is it actually, it could be a map.
Right.
But as far as the Navajo words and such, it doesn't seem like there's anything embedded in that, does there?
Well,
Or
I
does it?
haven't seen any embedding up close. Like I said, when I've been through the airport, it was, it was before 2001, but it was still in a rush back then. They didn't want you just standing around for too long. And I thought, man, here's a guy with a camera that probably thinks, I'm a terrorist even before 2001. So I was walking around real quick looking at things. I do know that the Navajo words are supposedly there to lift a curse.
Oh.
When they first started construction on this airport, they had, I can't remember how many different Indian nations show up at a city council meeting. And that actually, and my uncle told me about this too, because when he first bought that land out there when they were farming back in the late 60s, early 70s, they used to find Indian arrowheads all the time out there, pottery, you name it. And the Denver Historical Society said that there were actually Indian wars on that land. They actually had fights between different groups of Indians. And I don't remember which ones, but Navajo doesn't sound like the group that was there. I think it was the Utes and the Grand Mesas Indians from, I think they're from up in the mountains that had a war out there. And the Indians actually, during groundbreaking, supposedly went in and blessed it. And I have been told that the Native American language in the floor is the prayer that they prayed over the land to appease the spirits.
Okay. So much for my claim that nothing that doesn't stand for anything. Well,
I don't know because they never get specific, so there's no way to know for sure unless you can find somebody that speaks Navajo that knows what those words mean. But I've been told that those words are the same words they spoke to get rid of any curses from the spirits.
Well, are these the same Native American wars that you refer to that took place around Columbine?
Yes, the exact same thing.
And let me ask you this. We call it Red Rock because of a certain reason, but was Red Rock a place for anything that was exceptionally bloody?
Yes. The wars in the Red Rocks region where the amphitheater was so bloody that the Indians wrote down those wars. They actually wrote them down, which they had never done before in Colorado history, were so bloody that they said that the rain would not wash the blood off the rock.
As an aside also, for those in the Hudson Valley, you'll appreciate this. Up by Bear Mountain, there is a lake that they now call Hessian Lake. It is at the bottom of a very palisade-like mountain face. It is not the Palisades, but it's kind of an extension of it, and it is a sheer rock wall. Well, apparently during the Revolutionary War, as the British were trying to make their way, I guess, up to West Point, they got into an exceptionally bloody battle. And what happened is bodies fell into this Hessian Lake, so much so that it turned the water burgundy-colored. And the lake was known for quite some time as Bloody Lake. But as Bear Mountain got to be a tourist attraction, that's probably not the kind of name you want for the lake. And they turned into Hessian Lake, interestingly, because a number of those that were killed obviously were Hessian mercenaries. So much for my gratuitous knowledge of language. History, rather. Okay. Somebody has also sent an email and said it looks like the children that we were talking about that embraced the saber are beating it into a plowshare.
Exactly. I was going to mention that. If you look at it, it has now turned into a plowshare.
Okay.
It's no longer straight like a saber.
All right, we have something else, another comment. Take a look at the child, quote, child in the coffin. It is an American/Israeli depicted child. The watch indicates that her time has run out. Now, go to the part of the mural where the Israeli flag is shown. Okay, but there is no Israeli child there. Is there? No. Why? Good question. Now, would you bear witness with that?
Oh, yeah. They're definitely, what I saw in my impression from that coffin with the girl in it was that Judaism and Christianity, the time had run out for it. And I don't think that they're depicting just one girl, but I think they're using the girl to depict the religious practices of both these countries, Israel and America. And they're saying those people that believe that way, their time has run out.
Okay.
I also find it kind of interesting that the girl in the coffin, I think it's like on her lapel or close to where you would put a lapel in the coffin, there's a columbine flower there. Interesting.
Yeah, I'm rarely this way, but I am nonplussed, so... Also, we have a statement here. It says, then the leopard, or whatever that animal at the top of the mural is, the mother is all animal, but her children have human faces.
Yes.
Think transgenics. Good point.
Yep.
Also, the New York wise guy, this individual likes you. You're warped as well, so not my words, the listeners. Yeah, very interesting. Also, you also, when somebody also mentioned that you do have the rainbow also as a rainbow coalition. Also, I guess it's embraced somewhat by homosexual groups as well. Or gay groups, I guess I'm supposed to say. Okay. All right. Can we go down to the one, unless you got something where the word Frida is? If we go below that, if that's okay, unless you got something you want to address on that one.
No, not really.
Okay.
We've kind of gone over everything that we can really find. Imagine if you spent just a couple of hours with real high-resolution photos, you could probably dig out even more stuff out of these.
Well, then you have the one that's born apparently, obviously the individual is black, but is it African? Who knows? But again, I don't know the symbology of that kind of parchment. It looks like he's carrying, or a skin that's got a serpent on it. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Also multicolored as well, rainbow in color.
Yeah.
All right. Now, this is interesting. I mean, is this like Free Willy? What's with the two whales?
Well, the whales here, I've looked at this over and over again, and you will, if you notice, if you look at these guys jumping up out of the water, it looks like there's waves right there, like they're coming up not just out of the water, but like they're, it's almost like a freedom thing, like they're breaking free of what's below, which would be the ocean where they're at. And the clouds in the background, I always thought were weird. It almost appeared to me like that could be like a mushroom cloud, like what you would see from a nuke explosion, but it's hard to tell. But the cloud up in the upper right is the one that always interested me, because it almost looks like a bird in a way. Almost looks like there's an eye up there. So that was the weird part, was these clouds. They're not normal clouds.
No, and you don't find those tones associated with, obviously, the sky, which is cerulean shades and such. Red is almost like volcanic, very emotional, and not really, Or else, once again, what we are seeing, perhaps though too, is you would get a situation like this at sunrise or sunset. But if you're dealing with the motif of occultism, you're looking at sunrise, the sun god.
Yep.
So, I'm also wondering if these whales are happy to get rid of the underground sonar that's driving them crazy.
Yeah. Do you notice the guy that seems to be reaching out from them from the cliff? If you look, there's something that flows off of him and then goes up.
Yep. Yeah. Okay, I wish I had another perspective of that. Is that going to happen? I don't think so.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's...
Where does that go to? All right. Oh, all right. That, you know what that also is? That could be a continuation of what you might call, say, a cutout of what is surrounding or backdropping the people to the right, one of whose arm is sticking out.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's kind of like a scallop, if you will.
Okay.
So. All right, now, I guess this is what the listener is referring to with the leopard.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, geez, like something out of the Wizard of Oz. That's another whole story.
Yeah. Well, they just admitted here the other day that they transplanted human DNA into some type of animal. And it was on MSNBC on the internet. And I guess human rights activists were going nuts over it.
Well, I think this is legit. What I saw, Angie sent along, I believe it was Angie that sent along a whole bunch of hybrids. Now, I don't think that was photoshopped. I mean, some of those really were the real deal. Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, who knows how many human beings now are walking around that have been cloned, thanks to our alien folks.
Yeah.
So nobody has any idea how far it's gone. And this is just a little factoid or minutia, but one of the things I think all of us would agree on, tell me if I'm wrong, down here, we eat produce just about all year round. Only a short time do we have to go to South America for stuff. But I'm telling you, in the last year or two, and I kidded around with this with Jerry Guidetti of the Arc Institute, who sells hybrid seeds, do not tell me that we're not eating right now GMO food, produce. I've never seen a cucumber last 3 weeks, 4 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm serious. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we don't have to throw it away anymore.
No.
Because it doesn't rust. The lettuce doesn't rust, and I'm saying to myself, God knows what's in this stuff. What are you going to do? I mean, you got to you deal with what you have to. To the time I can go to get a garden, you take what you got. The Lord knows.
Yeah.
All right, so there it is. Yes, they're very strange. And, of course, it's funny because leopards, in Dante's Inferno, the sin of the leopard was the sin of incontinence.
Mm-hmm.
Not to be able to control his one appetite, sexually, otherwise, all driven. Yes. And finally, we have Quetzal.
Yep.
What in the world is that? Extinct? Okay. Does that project the fact that by in so many years, another species will be endangered?
I think so. When I was looking at this picture from a different view, you can see everything around him is like red, like there's trees in the background that have no leaves left on them, but it's all red, the background, like something burned them, destroyed them, made them extinct. And the bird, it's almost like if you look at him, it's like he's got this, I'm dying kind of look.
Yeah, you could call it a death swoon.
Yeah.
And also, the destruction of the environment.
Yep.
And its habitat. And I don't know if that bird has also got some kind of, we ought to get Andy Colden on this. There's got to be a Garuda or a Mothman thing happening here. Mm-hmm. And I'm serious, at least with the Garuda imagery.
Yep.
That seems to have taken place across centuries and knows every continent. All right, folks, we're going to go on a little longer, if you don't mind, probably just a half an hour at the max. What I want to do, and Bill, if this is okay with you, is pick up where we left off with the construction worker talking about his experience working at the New World Airport. Okay, and we'll come back and then we'll explicate it a bit and then we'll get out of here. Folks, if you can stay with us, we appreciate it. If you can't, you can always hit this in the archives. We had a late start because of the computer locking up, so I had to do a little dabba-dabba to try to get things up and running. Where we're going to enter this is at the halfway mark. It is a 22-minute file. We listened to 11 minutes yesterday. You can still go back and listen to that. At this point, this gentleman is speaking, especially with one questioner in particular who was either very curious or a disbeliever or whatever, and they're just starting to talk about FEMA. I'm going to pick it up at 10:53. We're only going to have a couple of seconds of overlap, and then we'll get into the new stuff, and then we'll come back and we'll wrap it up. Again, this is a construction worker at New World Airport talking about his experiences. I'm going to change auto sources, and we'll get going.
Out here, they put enough topsoil on top of everything to where you cannot see it from the air.
Can we say that some kind of secret task force that belongs to the government is behind all of this planning, construction, and secret buildings?
I believe that this is FEMA.
What's FEMA?
Federal Emergency Military Aid. Management Agency. Federal Emergency Management Agency.
Federal Emergency
Management Agency.
Management
I believe
Agency.
that they constructed all this at the time that the airport was being built, because if they were to do something in this order, of this magnitude, in the middle of nowhere, without something for the media to make...
FEMA, is this a branch of the CIA, let's say, or...
It's a branch of the federal government. And what their main objective is to come rescue America or Americans in time of need and in time of disaster. They're disaster aid.
If they're trying to rescue people, why are they building these kind of facilities underground in order to seclude people, as you said?
Well, I believe that such as the CIA and other IRS, FBI, and other government agencies, they really don't do what they say they're doing. They're actually they have cover names. They have another objective in mind, another mandated objective being ordered to them, not only by our United States government, but by the Illuminati.
Which is?
Which is the Trilateral Commission, which is the 8 families, the Rockefellers and such.
Where do you come out with all of these
theories? Lots of research, lots of reading. Lots of men across this country and lots of people across this country have learned through their own follies, through the New World Order's own follies, we've started to get a grasp of an overall picture of what they're doing to our country now and to us.
Okay.
But if they come out and tell us about something like this, we're smart enough to know that isn't
what they're saying.
They're saying. So they have to do things secretly like this and use other money to do it with, because FEMA cannot use that much money to do something like this. They're going to have to lump it in with a major federal grant such as we got on the DIA and slip in their little objective, which is to build these concentration areas down in here. And bear in mind, this will just be a central concentration area for a major breakdown for all these cities that fly in here now. This can handle a lot of airplanes from a lot of different cities. They can bring them in from other cities, distribute them all here in this process in a matter of 12 to 24 hours. Whole families, mass at a time.
Okay, why are you telling us all of this? What's the purpose behind it? Are you trying to warn people?
I'm trying to warn people and trying to get them to wake up and see what could potentially happen to their freedom overnight, where they could go to bed one day and think that they're free.
Well, what do you think is going to happen if we air this in a bunch of effects, bunch of consequences, a domino effect takes place, after this interview?
Such as what type of domino effect? Such as
problems with law agencies, federal authorities.
I think that it's inevitable that those things will take effect real soon, as they are, whether this being exposed or being not exposed. I think that has a lot to do with the delay in the DIA.
Let's say that this is the beginning of the exposure, and this thing, attracts more media, mainstream media, the big TV channels in town, channel 4, 7, and 9. What's going to happen when all of these media focus their attention on the things you're talking about tonight?
I don't believe that they will focus their attention on those. I believe that those media channels, our mainstream media channels, are bought and paid for by their federal government. They'd never tell us about these type.
Did you invite one of them?
Yes,
did you invite?
We have invited them. They chose not to come.
Why do you think that is?
I don't believe that they're allowed to come and expose such things as this. Just the word that comes from above I think that their superiors have told them that they are not to engage in any activity or any talking of anything that has to do with anything to this effect.
How many people do you think know about this secret construction?
I believe only a handful of the people that worked on these buildings here. They had it. The guys that did this runway were somebody separate. Each part of all of this in here were separate companies, separate contractors. They went through a lot of help out there. They didn't keep many foremen or superintendents. They just kind of put the things up a little at a time out in here with different companies to where nobody could get an overall view of really what was happening.
In your understanding, why that shape, those five buildings are arranged in such a way? What's the purpose behind it? It looks like a pentagon to me.
Yeah, it really does. It looks like an underground pentagon, and the thing about it is it's positioned in a manner to where you can exchange such as guards, food, prisoners from all points, from all around each other here, from one to another.
Oh, you're there?
What would you do if the government sees this footage and releases a press release saying that none of what you're saying is true?
I would be expecting them to do that. That would be my first reaction to that's pretty much what I expect. I've never really talked to anybody about this before. That's why most people won't disclose things like this, is because they feel like they're just going to get ridiculed and they're going to get laughed at. People are going to just say, well, it was this or it was that, but it really wasn't what you were saying.
Okay.
But the question we have to ask ourselves is, what if it is?
We agreed on not showing your face. Why don't you want to come out openly about these things you saw?
People that disclose information like this and people that rock the boat for the United States government are usually found missing or dead.
You're afraid of being killed?
I am deadly afraid of retaliation on their part.
You think if I were to show your face, someone from the government would come and kill you or disappear you?
Definitely, without a doubt.
You think so?
I know so. I know so. Most of the people that I worked with on this job, it was a small crew. And I'd say 2/3 of the men that worked on this section of work out in here were from Mexico. They didn't speak English. We had a bilingual carpenter that helped us interpret to these other men. And the five carpenters, only one other one was from Colorado. The other 3 were all from other states.
Where are they? Where are these people? What happened to them?
We all split up after the job was done. The job was done.
You began the job 3.5 years ago? Is that my understanding?
It was finished.
It was finished 3.5 years ago.
Yeah.
When the construction started?
I don't know exactly when it was started.
When did you start working on this project?
On this project here, I was working on in 1989. A 1990 boat.
That's more than 5 years ago, about roughly 5 years.
We also
and they finished 3.5 years ago.
Yeah, they finished the whole thing 3.5 years ago.
What else can you tell us? Maybe we're missing something, or
just
maybe you like to add.
Are large enough to carry large cargo planes in and out.
Underground.
Yeah, they're underground now, but they were built on ground. And then this whole thing has been covered. Everything out here has been covered with topsoil and restored to its original condition.
So
I believe that in a matter of one day with 2 bulldozers, you can clear it completely. You can clear all access to these buildings and to these 2 runways out, and maybe even create a bunker around with the dirt to shield yourself from anybody coming in.
You're saying that we can have airplanes in those runways?
Oh, yeah. We could have cargo planes flying in and out on these runways. These runways are twice as long as your main runways.
Than the ones for the commercial airplanes.
And if you can land Concords on these runways, imagine what you can do with these runways.
Well, obviously, this wasn't a mistake. Why would the people in charge of construction at the DIA build these runways and spend probably millions of dollars, in...
That guy gets annoying, you know that?
Yeah.
All right, folks, that was a construction worker who was working at DIA. Now, here's the situation. We want to thank Bob Bixler for filming a lot of information. He has given it to Bill Zabel. Bill's made a DVD. This discussion has video with it on the end of that DVD. It's interesting. Bob never meant for it to be, a prize piece. He may redo it in time to come, and maybe do a PowerPoint thing. But if it's crude, it's very long. But I've watched it. A lot of interesting points. But this comes at the end of it, and you can see the map that the individual drew. All right, now. For that to happen, Bill, what would you have done? Have people contact you via email, as they've done before with the Columbine information?
Yes. Yeah, same way.
Right.
Email me and say, what you want.
Okay. And they can do that by hitting you off the website. You get an email, contact us, right? Something like that?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's phantomchasers.net.
Yes.
You'll see that link on my site, on the favorite links on the homepage, and also that accompanies all the audio he's done that's still up there. All right, so that was the DIA construction worker. Now, I got something about the, what we were talking about, the bird, the Quetzal. Mm-hmm. Andy from Utica sent something along. He said, not that Wikipedia is flawless, but it's got some interesting symbology as it pertains to what you would call mythology, southwestern Aboriginal people, South American Aboriginal, Central America. It's tied into Guatemala as far as currency goes, but it's got some kind of past regarding mythology and also probably Aboriginal legend. It also has to do, as Joe Schmo had mentioned, has it got something to do with gods? Yes, it does, Quetzalcoatl. So that's interesting that they should show that. I'm thinking about it now too, Bill. And with what's going on with illegal immigration and what we realize is a soft invasion that's being deliberately perpetrated by those who want a one-world government, that they would work so heavily with that Southwest or Central America or Mexican motif, if you will. Mm-hmm. Now, let me ask you straight out. First of all, I've asked the Air Force individual about concentration camps. And the individual said they exist. I said, are they being kept low-key? The individual said some are, some in plain sight. I've often wondered about Fort Dix, about which we hear a lot, which was obviously in New Jersey, a place where a lot of soldiers were cashed out, if you will, and was supposedly downsized, and yet things are going on down there. In fact, they just held something, and I thought it was interesting that it was at Fort Dix, which is supposed to be, gone the way of nickel candy, but apparently it hasn't. Some say also that that's one of the possible detention camps that may be going on everywhere, though they don't have their military function like they did in years gone by. Do they have another function? It seems that they might. Now, let me ask you now, Bill, getting to the point. With regard to this being some kind of perhaps temporary holding place, perhaps distribution center, as the gentleman said, about sending people somewhere, for what purposes? Do you think that all of this, the cavernous, the spatiality, is this all been dedicated, do you believe, to something that has to do with detaining people?
I think it does, because it has a very unusual layout compared to other airports. When you go into the concourses, you are herded into chutes automatically. And, other airports, you just go through metal detectors and go on through. But this, you have to stand in a line in chutes to get up to the metal detectors. You just don't stand in a big crowd. And if you look at the concourses, and you can go to DIA's webpage, and you can see live feed of the concourses, everything is in lines, like you're herding people down a line. And in other airports, I have never seen that design. But then it gets worse when you get underground, because there are people, including Bob Bixler and others, who have been underground down in what was, well, they alleged was a parking garage, but they've never used it for cars, but it is paved. And it's huge. It's just one story below the ground, and there's a chain link fence around it. You can't get in there and walk around on this little parking garage where whatever it is. They have K-rails, and then on top of the K-rails they have fences. And it goes all the way around this thing. And I asked Bob one time how big he thought it was, and he says they had the lights off, so it was hard to tell. But he said, take your average shopping mall parking lot, and that was probably about how big it was. And it was crazy because there's no way, Bob says there's no way to get a car into it. He says there's no ramp down there. So he says, but it's paved like a parking garage. And I mean, everyone just immediately thought the next thing. After this construction worker and you hear him talk, the first thing is holding area.
All right, this is going to take some thinking, which I'm slow at. But I got to sit back and process all this, and I'll tell you why. We know that we did have the internment camps because of Japanese Americans. Mm-hmm. We also had camps for Germans who were captured and brought stateside. In fact, right here in Dade City, Florida, not far from where we are, there's a facility that later became a juice processing plant that held German soldiers. So we kind of forget that, and of course that's also that whole period of Americana is captured by that book. What was it? My favorite German. What was it? Oh man, in Georgia, The Summer of My German Soldier, or something like that. Does that ring a bell at all?
Almost. It sounds familiar.
Yeah, Summer of My.
There was a book about the Germans in the internment camp,
right.
Specifically soldiers.
Right, and she was.
But it's been a long time ago.
Yeah, and this took place in Georgia. So, all right. So now we know we had the internment camps, detention camps. In 1955, I've talked about this in a speech given by John Lord O'Brien at Harvard in April of '55. He talked about the existence of detention camps, and the reason I bring this up, this guy was a Republican. Former Attorney General of Western part of New York, and he was giving a speech telling people in '55, be careful of giving up your freedoms for supposed security. 1955, and he also said that the concentration camps still exist, folks. All right, so he said it in '55. Now, Look magazine in 1968, I believe May, the editor of Look, very interesting because this was more a coffee table, type of magazine that every home had along with life. And he goes, I think his name is Hedgepath, and he writes an article about concentration camps, 1968. So they've never really gone away. There's no reason to believe they're still not with us, or perhaps even expanded. What is it for? We've heard at times, Bill, that it was going to be to house people temporarily if they were involved in the Katrina type of situation, which they were not, obviously, when Katrina hit. However, if you have a facility like New World Airport with these capabilities, and nowhere else right now, what does that mean? And the reason I'm saying this is because, does that mean that this comes at a time when the East Coast and the West Coast have incurred perhaps damage from a war? How does this play in also with the civil unrest that's going to occur when the illegal immigration gets to a flashpoint and the guns are sent out so that makes sure everybody starts getting into it? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So what does that all mean? I mean, is this going to be probably where it's safe, so to speak? The mountains have always been historically, even biblically, somewhat invulnerable to what man can do.
Right.
So do you want to hit off that at all? I mean, I don't mean to go on speculating, but is this telling us something about what's going to happen to this country?
Right. If you read the literature of the New World Order, you will realize that even they consider the Rocky Mountain region a safe area for them. Like we said yesterday, they talked about moving the CIA headquarters here. The federal government has a huge presence in Colorado anyways. We're surrounded by military bases. Up until 1968, we were surrounded by Nike missile bases here. And by the way, on the southern side of DIA, there's 3 or 4 shut down Nike bases. But yesterday when I went out there, I found evidence that they are now doing something with them. They now have the U.S. government signs back up where they were civilian property. So people need to understand this whole area where I live is a concentration of military and science power. Much of what we do in the military comes out of Colorado. For instance, Star Wars, in a little town called Frederick, north of here, is a little electronics plant where it's not open anymore, but they used to manufacture circuit boards. They did all of the circuit boards for the satellites, for the Star Wars satellite system. Eugenics started at Boulder, Colorado. Missile technology, even though it was done at Redstone and other facilities, the actual chemical processing for rocket propellant and all that was done at the Rocky Mountain Arsenal. So the New World Order feels that there's a need for this place, and there's definitely a spiritual tie here for these people. You know, whether it's true that they're all out Satanists, whether they're New Agers, whether they've got a mix of philosophies, they feel a connection to this town, to this area, because their symbology here is just mind-blowing. If people ever come to Denver and just, not just DIA, but walk through downtown Denver, almost all of the new city and county buildings have pyramids. The roofs are actually pyramids with a window clear at the top. They spent $50 million to renovate all the Denver public schools, and over the entrances they have pyramids. All of their paintings are in the public schools and the Denver Public Library, similar to DIA, paintings of death and destruction, a lot of darkness. I mean, it's this area, this area of Colorado, for all intents and purposes, belongs to them. I mean, it is New World Order here.
Well, I always felt that they were going to keep their playgrounds safe, like Switzerland and such, you know what I mean? And, of course, the mountains have an attraction. Everybody really does understand that.
Yeah.
I'm going to get through a couple more emails, and then we'll wrap it up. But you're right about Colorado. We've kidded around a lot, but you know what? We really are doing it tongue-in-cheekly, but we're serious, too. And, of course, we see a mirror of that, what takes place also in West Virginia and in places in Pennsylvania. So, a lot of interesting things going on the ground, and who knows exactly just how extensive it is, but something certainly is going on down there. There's no two ways about it. And, again, like we said, how this all plays in. I just want to throw something out, and we can get an answer before we go off the air. Hey, LAW, you said something to me. It says the Quetzalcoatl will be released on 2012, supposedly. Can you clear that up for me? And by the way, if she gets a chance to email me again, Bill, do you have any idea about Quetzalcoatl, and are we talking about the god, 2012 Mayan calendar, all that stuff? Are you aware of any of this?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've been following that pretty closely.
Okay. You want to fill us in case she can't get back?
Right. Basically, what the Mayans, and it's you're talking about the people today. These people claim to be descendants of Mayans. A lot of them are Native Americans here in the United States. Some of them are immigrants from South America. They have gone back a lot, especially the younger Hispanic Native American types, and they've put all this together from old documents, from basically the history books and the calendar. And the conclusion of a lot of these groups, and La Raza's involved in this, and a few of the others, and their supposition is that the end of the world is at 2012 when Quetzalcoatl comes back. It will be comparable to, say, when Jesus returns. The only difference is in the Christian Bible, when Jesus returns, everyone's saved, la-da-da-da-da. These guys have a very downturn to the end of the world, the end of the Mayan calendar. To them, everything just ends. Everything's just darkness. I mean, it's just death and destruction, but there's nothing beyond that. They never have a positive outlook beyond any of that.
All right, so you said groups like that. You're talking about the more militant groups, La Raza, Aztlan. Is this correct?
Yes, the Aztlan movement, La Raza. If you go to their websites, they just push this stuff like a Hollywood film.
Yeah. And so we know that they're getting funded by at least Carnegie, and I believe Carnegie and the Rockefeller Foundations.
Mm-hmm. And the Ford Foundation.
All right. Now, here's the deal I'm thinking. If they are nihilistic, then the whole idea is just grab the United States and you're the last man standing, you win.
You got it. I think that when it comes down to it, that's exactly what they want.
All right. What we'll do is, if LAW can't get in touch with us before time, I want everybody to know Kurt and Mo can't be with us tomorrow. This will spill over tomorrow, not so much with Bill, but I'll address whatever didn't go addressed in this particular show. But it's interesting, too, because I don't know if I sent you that file by that idiot who's a fellow with the Council on Foreign Relations and is an associate professor at Columbia, Shannon O'Neill, writing about how we really should have more illegal immigrants here because my generation is going to vacate jobs and there won't be enough people to go around. Are you hip to this? Apparently not.
I don't remember that particular email, no.
Well, it was an LA Times piece, Los Angeles Times piece, and I couldn't believe my eyes and ears. And by the way, I sent her an email, and and I'm going to read it tomorrow. She's not responded to me yet, but the last line I said, look, if you're going to write another article, why don't you just level with the American people about the North American Union and tell them where they're headed, you know, the pike they're headed down, literally. Didn't answer. They're lying. These people are traitors. These people, I can't even believe that they're deluded into thinking one-worldness, globalization is good. But, you know, and in the meantime, they're selling sacks of this crap, this vanguard of propaganda about, oh no, we need more. Oh, jeez. Hey, listen, Bill, thanks very much. We'll probably see you down the road sometime. Again, folks, if you want more information, if you want to hear and see that individual and the map that he drew of the IA, you can get that through Bill. He'll send you a DVD out. Take care of him, please, for his time and for the materials. Okay, we want to thank also Bob Bixler for really, you know, being the genesis of this, and whoever else turned, I think it was Kay also that was involved in this. As we go, folks, if you don't mind giving me 4 more minutes, Bill, this is in tribute to you and that wonderful state you live in. Okay, I don't know if you've ever heard of this, but do you know a group by the name of the Flying Burrito Brothers?
No.
Well, you're just going to love this. You're not listening to Live 365, are you?
No.
All right, you're going to have to listen to the archives.
Okay.
Thanks for being with me, bro.